Thank you. Please be seated while we wait the arrival of the Lieutenant Governor.
The Lieutenant Governor.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Please be seated. Well, good afternoon and welcome. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to the Legislative Assembly of Alberta. My name is Nathan Cooper and I'm the Speaker of this fine establishment, and it is great to welcome you here to celebrate the 7th Black History Month celebration at the Alberta Legislature. A special thank you to Timothy Noel for that absolutely beautiful rendition of O Canada. Timothy will be performing for us again later in the ceremony. And you know, there's something special about hearing that anthem ring out here in the halls of our democracy, in the people's house, in your house. And I'd like to just say a very special welcome to Timothy's father, George, who immigrated to Canada from Grenadine in 1979. And just imagine today your son saying, "O Canada," here in the seat of our democracy. Imagine the journey that you've been on to get here today. So he's 92 years old, and I just wanted to say a very special welcome. Please welcome his father. There are a number of other guests who are joining us today. It's my great honor and privilege to have Her Honor, the Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, Salma Lahani, the Deputy Premier of Alberta, the Honorable Kaliche Madu, MLA David Shepherd, representing the official opposition, Sarah Adamako Anich, founder of the Black Teachers Association, Charlie Queen XO, a spoken word artist who will be joining us later in the ceremony, officers of the legislature, MLAs, former MLAs, and honored guests. Thank you so much for being with us here to celebrate this very, very important day as we honor Black History Month in Alberta. Today we honor the incredibly smart, creative, innovative, and accomplished African Canadians and African Albertans who have built our nation and our province into the culturally diverse place that it is today. Black History Month is about celebrating the storied history of how African Americans came to our province for a better life. Not only how they survived, but how they thrived. It's an opportunity for us to speak and educate to the next generation about the struggles that Black Canadians had and continue to have as they fight for equity, respect, and equality. It's so important that youth understand the rich history of resilience and determination. It will inspire hope and provide guidance and help them reach their important goals. The courage and commitment of the families that came before them, finding a life to continue to inspire generations of Black youth to dream bigger, to do better, and to be the very best that they can be. In the early part of the 20th century, Black Canadians settled in central and northern Alberta, which led to the founding of several new communities such as Amber Valley, Campsie, and Keystone. One such person was Violet King Henry, whose parents settled in Amber Valley before moving to Calgary. In 1954, she attended law school and became the first Black woman to graduate law school and be admitted to the bar. Her name now honors the North Plaza of the legislature grounds, and it's my hope that her story continues to be told for years to come and is the inspiration that many young Black women will look to as they forge a story of their own. Violet King Henry is just one of the examples of the many of the Black community's remarkable talent and accomplishments. Her story is also one of thousands of inspirational people who have helped build a path for Black youth. Remembering the challenges, the adversities, and the triumphs of Black Canadians preserves our history and ensures this beautiful culture continues to flourish and leave its mark on Alberta's history and an impression for our future. It's also my hope that by keeping this history alive, more youth will feel empowered to learn and retain their traditions and continue to make a positive difference in our province, our country, and indeed our world. It's now my great pleasure to invite the Honorable Selma Lahani, the Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, to the podium to bring her remarks.
Thank you, Speaker Cooper. Elected officials, distinguished guests all. I too would like to acknowledge the beautiful rendition of O Canada. Thank you for that, Timothy, and welcome to your father and your family, and welcome to all of you, our distinguished guests. In the spirit of meaningful reconciliation, I would like to acknowledge all First Peoples who have called this place home for thousands of years and who welcomed us here to make our own lives. May we always dwell together on these lands with peace, respect, and understanding. In addition to sharing this beautiful land and contributing to the spirit of compassion in our communities, each one of us has an important role to play in shaping and in understanding the story of who we are as Albertans and Canadians. As someone born in Africa and who came to this country some 45 years ago, it is so gratifying to see the success of Black History Month. We are, as a province and a country, finally filling in some of the gaping holes in our rich and diverse history, something which we should all aspire to be better informed about. And always remember, our collective success is thanks to the contributions of all of our different communities that make us the province and country that we are. Annual traditions like this special month give us an opportunity to fully illuminate the various chapters of our history, bringing them to life and adding much needed context and perspective, and that includes learning about Black history. Not all of us know that many Black Albertans have deep roots in our communities, stretching back to before Alberta became a province. Others are part of the very exciting, vibrant, and growing population of new Canadians who have so many strengths and ideas to ensure. And I have to tell you that as a relative newcomer, my own education, mine and my husband's own education about this amazing chapter in Alberta's history was thanks to one of my husband's patients who grew up in Amber Valley and who gave an excellent history lesson to my husband when my husband kept asking him, "No, but where are you really from?" That was when we were first introduced to the story of Black pioneers who settled in Amber Valley and other parts of Canada, and to the story of the amazing John Ware, who was a legend in his own time, a legend today, and thanks to filmmaker Cheryl Fogo, will always remain a proud legend in Canada. We need to ensure that everyone can see themselves and feel a sense of belonging in our history, in our society today and in the years to come. Every aspect of Black history that we explore opens a new door to learning, to meaningful dialogue, and to a more inclusive future for all. As His Majesty the King's representative in Alberta, and that took quite a bit of practicing because we were used to saying the Queen's, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks again to Speaker Cooper and his staff for bringing us all together here today. And I would also like to recognize and thank the wonderful community leaders, advocates, and volunteers across Alberta who are doing so much to honor all of our history and to build upon the rich diversity of our province. I hope that this month affords everyone many opportunities to learn and to take pride in our shared past, present, and future. And with that, I'd like to say, Black History Month ends on February 28th this year. But let it not stop us from having conversations about Black history all through the year. Thank you all so much, and let's enjoy this celebration.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Let me just say thank you. I know that you take so much time to ensure that you're here on these special occasions, and it really does mean a lot to me and members of the Assembly that you put aside time in your schedule to make it to these. And I have had no problem with the transition from the Queen to the King, so it's okay. It's now my great pleasure to invite the Honorable Kaliche Madu, the Deputy Premier and the first Black Minister of Justice in Canadian history, to bring remarks on behalf of the Honorable Premier Danielle Smith.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I honor the Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, Sama Lakhani. Thank you so much, always, for being here. I do want to acknowledge the presence of some of my colleagues. I see the Minister of Education, Edwina Lagrange. I see the Minister of Culture. I see the Minister of Mental Health and Addiction. I see the Honorable Todd Lowen. I see some of my colleagues as well, former colleagues. I see the Honorable Lindsay Blackett, the Honorable Christine Cusinelli. And I do want to acknowledge the presence. Oh, I see the Honorable Rick McIver. Thank you so much. If there's anyone I have missed, please forgive me. Thank you for being here. I also see the members of Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition, the MLF Edmonton City Centre, David Shepherd, various community leaders present here this afternoon from Somalia, from Nigeria, from Kenya, from Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire. Thank you so much for being here as well. And if there's anyone that I have missed, again, I offer my apologies. I am indeed very pleased to be here on behalf of our Premier, the Honorable Daniel Smith, and your government to participate in this 7th annual Black History Ceremony. It is wonderful for us as a people that have gathered in this hallowed seat of our democracy to commemorate the history, the heritage, legacy, and yes, the place of Black Albertans in this magnificent province. The theme of this year's celebration is Black youth and the impact on their communities and our province. There is no question in my mind that Alberta's youth is our future. It is equally true that Black youths are going to play an important role in the future and success of our province. That is why those of us who have been given the noble responsibility to govern must do all we can to build a province worthy of their pride, a province that creates an enabling environment to ensure their success. These Black youths are already making us proud. They are supporting efforts to uplift the status of our Black brothers and sisters who have come to Alberta and who now call this province their home. You will find them at the university and college campuses around our province. You will find them studying hard for their degrees or apprenticeship programs. They are our sons, our daughters, brothers, and sisters, and yes, they are citizens, always willing to assist their parents, families, communities, and province. While we still have a long way to go, and no one can doubt that, let the trajectory of my own life, as the Speaker said, Canada's first Black Attorney General, and the first Black Deputy Premier of our province, and likely the first Deputy Premier, Black Deputy Premier in Canadian history, be your proof that you can achieve your goals and full potential right here at home. Prior to my joining politics, I volunteered for my native Igbo, Nigerian, and African communities. I worked for Legal Aid Alberta. I handled legal aid files as a lawyer. I worked in the public service. And I worked at the University of Alberta Hospital Patient Food Services. In 2019, I joined active politics to be able to help build that province of our dreams and ensure that our voices are effectively heard. Since then, I've had the greatest privilege of my life, serving first as the Minister of Municipal Affairs, Minister of Justice, Solicitor General, Attorney General, and the Minister of Labor and Immigration, whilst also serving as the MLA for the good people of Edmonton Southwest. Today, nearly 130,000 Black Albertans call this province home, and the community continues to grow. While we continue to fight racism and systemic discrimination and the work to improve the lives of Black people in this province, let me assure you that this land remains the land of opportunity. Your government takes systemic racism seriously. That is why we have strengthened the Alberta Anti-Racism Advisory Council. And last year, we also launched Alberta's first anti-racism action plan. The plan is an important milestone and provides a path forward on how government is addressing racism and efforts to build a more diverse and inclusive society. In 2021, as Justice Minister, I led the effort and banned the police practice of cordon that unfairly targets people of color and indigenous Albertans. Last year, the Police Amendment Act 2022 became law. That law improves police accountability and enhances public confidence and strengthens community ties. A key feature of that act is the establishment of civilian independent agency to deal with complaints against the police. Your experience with racism and your fight for equality are important aspects of how we can improve and close the gap that exists in our system. This year, we will be holding the second Premier Summit on Fairness for Newcomers on March 17, 2023 in Calgary. This summit is an important step toward giving immigrants an equal opportunity to work, live, and thrive in this province. I understand the youth is our future, as I said earlier on, so I will continue to collaborate with the Black youth-led organizations across our province to seek a better understanding and a path forward so we can build a better Alberta for all. There is still a lot of work to be done, but if we work together, we can achieve our goal faster. Let us therefore pay tribute to those early Black pioneers. We have Timothy's daddy. Thank you so much for being here, who paved the way for all of us to be here today. I think of great Black Albertans such as the cowboy, John Ware, as her honor, the Lieutenant Governor rightly noted, a legend. I think about Eleanor Collins, Violet King Henry, Dr. Ezeji Okoye, and many others. We thank them for their many sacrifices. Happy Black History Month, everyone. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much, Kaliche. And now I'd like to invite Mr. David Shepherd, the MLA for Edmonton City Centre, to bring remarks on behalf of the Leader of His Majesty's Loyal Opposition, Rachel Notley.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, Deputy Premier, ministers, MLAs. I acknowledge my colleagues who join me here today, MLA Lauren Dack from Edmonton McClung, Janice Irwin from Edmonton Highlands Norwood, and MLA Raki Pancholi from Edmonton Whitemud. Recognize many, many community leaders and elders that I see in this room. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the work you do in our communities. It is an honor to be here today on the traditional territory of Treaty 6 land of great significance to the Métis people for the 7th official celebration of Black History Month at the Alberta Legislature. As has been noted, our theme this year is supporting black youth. Now, when you read about black history in Alberta, you probably might note that when we share stories of what black Albertans have accomplished, you don't hear many stories about youth. I suppose that's because we like to talk about great lives, great things accomplished, and when you're young, your life is just beginning. It's a foundation being laid for you to someday build upon. We like to talk about ends more than beginnings. But the truth is, great lives start somewhere. When John Ware was young, he was a slave. So was serial entrepreneur Annie "Auntie" Saunders, some of the earliest black settlers in Alberta. Violet King Henry, the first black woman in Canada to become a lawyer. Her brother, civil rights activist Ted King, they were both the children of a sleeping car porter and a seamstress, who in turn were children of the first wave of black settlers from the southern U.S. They came here in pursuit of a dream, of a better life, one free from discrimination, one where they could live as fully equal citizens and build a better life, a better future for their children. And you know, in my work as an MLA, in every meeting and conversation I've had with leaders and members of pretty much every African or Caribbean community that calls our province home, that's been a common theme. The need for more supports, more opportunity for their youth. They tell me of the challenges their children face, their hopes for them to have a better life, a better future. That's why black parents work to get ahead, many working multiple jobs. That's why they found community associations and organizations to celebrate, preserve, and share their culture and heritage, their language, their history. Those first communities here in Alberta, Amber Valley, Keystone, others, that's why they built churches and schools so they could give their children safe communities to grow in, the opportunity to learn. That's why the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters fought for stronger labor protections in law so that they could provide for their families and so that their children would have better opportunities for good work at dignified wages. That's why Ted King went to court to fight discrimination in hotels and got the laws of Alberta changed so that our children could live more free from discrimination. That's why Hattie Melton, at her restaurant here in Edmonton, hired young black women and men to work there, to help them earn the money they needed to afford a post-secondary education, because they believed in supporting black youth. And that's a spirit that's continued through growing numbers of newcomers from Caribbean countries and the nations of Africa. Indeed, in the last 6 years, over 34,000 people moved to Alberta from Africa, making African communities one of the fastest growing communities of newcomers in our province. And they share the vision of those who came before them, whether it was over a century ago or just in recent years, a better life, a better future for themselves and their children. And while black Albertans do face challenges in getting there, I see amazing work being done to overcome that and realize their dreams, forging new paths and building on foundations laid by those who've gone before. You know, when I see black children having the time of their lives at day camps with organizations like EthioCare or Kulin, or summer camps like Camp Tusu, when I see AfroQuiz still going strong 3 decades in, showcasing and celebrating black youth who've dedicated themselves to learning about their culture, history, and potential. When I hear about black elementary students going to their principals to ask if their school can celebrate Black History Month. When I attend graduation celebrations with the Somali Canadian Cultural Society, when in 2018 I saw the Come Up from the Africa Center fill 2 theaters full of young black people celebrating seeing their African culture on screen in Black Panther. When I saw the Black Teachers Association Alberta bringing hundreds of black youth from across the province together last year for the first Black Student Association Summit in Alberta's history, and when I see them doing it again this year. When I visited with the many black francophone students at École de la Découverte. When I see the thousands of black youth that were amongst the 15,000 who came here to this legislature in 2020 to declare that our lives matter. When I see La Connectionnelle filling venues in our city with young black men and women, black performers, and so much black joy. When I see the Calgary Black Chambers stepping up with mentorship and scholarship programs, or ASEC's Anza program, empowering black youth to turn their ideas into functioning business. When I meet a new cohort in the Black Youth Mentorship and Leadership Program at the University of Alberta, when I see young artists being showcased by Five Artists, One Love, or learning and performing traditional dance with Wezo Africa, when I just simply see the smiling, vibrant faces of the sons and daughters of my friends, it makes me smile. And it gives me hope. And it reminds me why we all do this. For them, for the youth, to give them a better future. And as the Deputy Premier noted, this legislature, government, we do play a part in that. From the first celebration of Black History Month held here in 2017, to work to include Black history in Alberta in the curriculum, to the Taking Action Against Racism Action Plan that was released in 2018 and established the Anti-Racism Advisory Council and anti-racism grants, to legislation, as the Minister noted, to address the practice of carding, to begin work on fairness and credentialing, accepting the recommendations of the Advisory Council and the government's new Anti-Racism Action Plan, to my bill proposing a framework to collect race-based data. Successive governments and opposition have been working to support Black Albertans and build a better future for Black youth. And we do that for the youth, for the children, to work to build a province where they can succeed, where they can thrive, where they can stand tall in the full richness of who they are, their culture, their heritage, and say, I am Alberta. Now, at times in these halls, we may disagree about how we get there, but I think we all agree that that is the goal. It's our responsibility as your elected representatives to work with and support all of you in the community who are doing the good work to support and uplift Black youth, to ensure we're investing in a strong foundation for them to build on, access to healthcare, education, trades and post-secondary, strong communities and good jobs. And of course, doing all we can to address and eliminate systemic barriers and discrimination wherever they're found, because we stand together. And as we stand together to recognize and celebrate Black history, it's to gather strength to keep building better Black futures. That's work so many of you are doing today across so many communities, standing on the shoulders of your elders, like Mr. Noel, honoring them and taking their work further, standing up and speaking out, pushing for better and putting your shoulder to the wheel to make it happen. Thank you to each and every one of you that is doing that work. Those of you who have joined us here today, those watching online, and those throughout our communities in Alberta. We see you and we thank you. And I commit to standing and working with you to recognize and celebrate our history, what we've experienced and where we've come from, but also to build on it the better future that our youth deserve. Happy Black History Month.
Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate your remarks this afternoon. And I'm not sure if you folks know, but from time to time, politics can be a little bit contentious. And one of my great joys as the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of Alberta is being part of times when members of the Assembly can really put their tools down and focus on one common good and one common interest. And today is one of those great days, and I want to extend a special thank you to Minister Madhu's office for the great work that they've done to putting the ceremony together, and also Mr. Shepherd's office. They've been very influential in coming together to work to have this ceremony, to have so many folks from the community come together, and I think they are deserving of our thank you. Now, it is my great pleasure to welcome back to our ceremony Mr. Timothy Noel for his performance of Lean on Me.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain. And we all have sorrows, but If we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if there are things you need to borrow, for no one can feel all of those needs that you won't let show. 'Cause you call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Oh, if there is a load that you have to bear, that you can't carry, I'm right up the road, and I'll share your load. If you just call me, sing with me, say, call me, call me, call me, call me, call me. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Timothy. I know it's always risky to speak on behalf of all members of the Assembly, but I think I'm safe in doing so. If you want to come and sing in the hallways any particular day, you'd be welcome. It's now my great honor to invite a community guest speaker today, Sarah Adamanko-Ansa. It's much better than the first go through. Sarah is the founder of the Black Teachers Association and someone who is deeply, deeply connected to our young Black community, and so I invite her to bring some remarks on behalf of her today.
I'm going to start by saying you're a very tough act to follow, Timothy, so I'm going to do my best. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Black History Month. It's an honor to be here, and I'd like to say thank you to the elected officials in the room for the invitation to be your community speaker. It's an honor. My name's Sarah Adamanko-Ansa. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a privileged guest on Treaty 6 territory within the Métis homelands and the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 4. This land is the traditional territories of many First Nations, such as the Anishinaabe, Blackfoot, Cree, Dene, and Nakota Sioux. I am a Canadian-born woman with ancestry hailing from Ghana, located in West Africa. I'm grateful for this land and the many privileges that I've been afforded here. I wear many hats in my community. Aside from being a daughter, a niece, a cousin, and a friend, I'm an elementary teacher with the Edmonton Catholic School Division. I'm a coordinator for tutoring and mentorship with CASH, the Council of Canadians of African and Caribbean Heritage. I'm the current educator in residence at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, which is located in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Finally, I'm the co-founder of the Black Teachers Association of Alberta, striving for representation in all our schools in the province. Nationally, the theme for Black History Month has been declared as Ours to Tell. This theme represents both an opportunity to engage in open dialogue and a commitment to learning more about the stories in Black communities in Canada. As a Black Canadian, I believe we must talk about our histories, successes, sacrifices, and triumphs. Additionally, this theme lends itself so beautifully to the idea of storytelling and youth, and telling your own story, your history, and your narrative as it relates to you. This afternoon, I'd like to take a few moments to tell you some of my own stories. Growing up in Edmonton in the 90s was a fun time. I was born into a family full of love. I have 4 siblings, Daniel, Samantha, my half-sister Diana, and my twin brother, David. We grew up as a unit, supporting one another in all of our endeavors. Often, we were the only Black kids that we saw in our schools, apart from 1 or 2 other students. Unique to my schooling was that none of my teachers looked like me. I loved my teachers and I loved learning, but I couldn't relate to them personally. I'm so lucky that the teachers that I had fostered a love of learning and encouraged me enough to become a teacher myself, and that was instilled early on, and something that I think I've become pretty successful at. I strived for this, and so did my twin brother David, although in the arts and entertainment realm. David became ill during our 12th grade year at Archbishop MacDonald High School. He was a large part of the school community, and I was happy to be in his shadow as he took on the alpha twin role, the leadership role. He did all the things, and I was happy to hang back. Still, we hadn't seen any teachers that looked like us, but we had each other to go to for advice and for care, as we had our whole lives. One of the conversations we'd had was surrounding representation. He knew that I wanted to be a teacher, and I knew that he wanted to be a journalist. Some may say we got into those professions because we like to hear ourselves talk and we like to dress fancy, but contrary to popular belief, we wanted to see ourselves represented everywhere in our world. Mostly, it's about seeing people that look like us in public spheres as the main characters and not as second acts. There's a lack of representation in our school system, and oftentimes people will study in a field that society tells them is appropriate. For young Black boys, that might be in athletics or stand-up comedy. For young Black girls, that might be entertainment or hairdressing. What about the young Black children that want to be educators themselves, or newscasters or scientists? This conversation is one that David and I had when we were in high school. His dream was to be a news anchor because he rarely saw them. I've always had dreams of being a principal because I hadn't seen one. David never got to live out his news anchor dream. He interned with CTV Edmonton and was set to start with them, but sadly he passed away on June 10th, 2013, just 4 days shy of our 24th birthday. It was then that my determination to make it as a teacher was a flame that was burning intensely. I mention all of this because I believe that my leadership skills were truly honed and acquired after my brother left this earth. I had to learn to rely on my own thoughts and skills and not to hide in his shadow. I had to learn to have my own confidence and not hide behind his, and I learned what it means to be resilient and how to speak up about things I found unjust and wanted to see change in. If I fast forward to my time at St. Pius X Elementary School, that's where I taught for 8 years. I had the opportunity to be the representation that I so desperately sought after growing up. I taught in grades 3 and 4 in the first 4 years of my career, and then grades 5 and 6 for the last 4. I got to, as I like to say, recycle my students. I had the ability to teach the same grade 3 students again when they got up to my classroom in grade 5 and 6. It was one of the highlights of my time at that school to work with my students again, sometimes 3 times, and because I got to work with them 3 times, for some of them there is an elite Miss Adamaco-Ansa hat trick club that only a few students got the privy and the privilege to be a part of. One of the most beautiful parts of teaching is the influence I got to have in my own classroom. I approached the curriculum in creative and current ways so that our students were learning what they needed to learn, but in a fun and modern way. If I think back to teaching grade 3, I think of a wonderful, smart, beautiful girl whose family has ancestry from Haiti. On the first day of grade 3, I had my students create a self-portrait that could be hung on our wall all year long. This wonderful girl proclaimed, "I'm done, Miss A." She was in fact not done. The portrait was of a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and white-skinned girl. I mentioned earlier, she's from Haiti. When I brought this to her attention, she frowned and said, "But I want to look like them," and gestured to a table of white girls in my classroom. Because I'm stubborn, I told her that I would be hanging on to the version that she created and her goal was to make me a new one. She wasn't happy about it, but she complied. When she was done, I asked her if she thought that I should make one that looks like her original. She told me, "No, Miss A, yours is beautiful. Your hair is so nice, your clothes look so good, and your skin looks amazing." I asked her why she didn't see herself that way too. She didn't answer my question, but asked her own. "When you hang them up, can you put mine beside yours?" For the rest of the year, those portraits stayed in our classroom. On the last day of grade 3, I gave the students their portraits back, not expecting them to be saved or cherished. Honestly, I just needed a clean classroom. I had the privilege of teaching this girl again in grade 6, and on her first day of school, she said to me, "Miss Adamako, do you remember those portraits we made in grade 3? Of course, I replied yes, but also said, "We won't be doing that again. Grade 6 is a very busy year." Her response is something that I will cherish forever. She said, "I still have mine. It's on my wall with affirmations all around it to remind myself that I am beautiful and that I am smart and that I am capable, all of the things that make a difference for me." This is why representation is so important in our schools. We must strive to allow students to see themselves in public spheres so they can be inspired to go above and beyond. Now, the same year I taught that girl and her class was the same year that our world was shook. The COVID-19 pandemic took hold of humanity and shifted our view of normal. All schools moved to a virtual classroom delivery. In that particular classroom, I had 31 sixth grade students. In the same breath, George Floyd was murdered. It's hard enough teaching 31 sixth graders in person, but 31 sixth graders on a virtual platform with nothing to do but watch YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, it was rough. The morning after George Floyd's murder, I asked my students an attendance question as I had every day for my entire career. This day's question was, "Does pineapple belong on pizza?" I got to 19 out of 31 students until I was challenged. A boy whose family has ancestry from Eritrea said, "Why are you asking us this stupid question when someone who looks like my dad was killed last night?" I didn't know what to say or do, but tell him, "You're right, I don't have the answers right now, but I promise you we'll come back to this conversation because it's important." I called my friend Andrew Parker, a teacher at Emmy Lizard High School with ancestry from Jamaica and Grenada, and told him my plight. He responded by telling me that he had the exact same struggle and he teaches high school. I realized that if we, as two Black teachers, were struggling with this conversation, then our non-Black colleagues must be having a hell of a time doing so. That's when the Black Teachers Association of Alberta was born. It began as a humble Instagram following of both Andrew's and my closest friends, but overnight there were messages sent with affirming words like, "How can we support? Thank you for doing this. This is so necessary. We stand with racialized teachers in Alberta." I knew we were on the right path. This association is completely voluntary and one of the greatest accomplishments of my life to date. It's been a pillar in connecting Black teachers across the province looking for other Black teachers to relate to, bounce ideas off of, vent sometimes, have conversations and connect. The BTA is a family with people from everywhere and ancestry from everywhere. This is where supporting our students starts, by supporting our educators and our school staff. The Canadian Museum for Human Rights is located on Treaty 1 territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba. With the encouragement of some close friends and my family, I applied for the educator in residence position and was the lucky candidate. Then I had to sit on the news for months. It was so difficult to not scream from the rooftops how exciting this opportunity was for me, and to be honest, it still is, a year and a half in. The job has afforded me so many learning opportunities and the ability to help teachers, not just here in Edmonton, but nationally. In my role, I've created a program that I've titled Pass the Mic, Let's Talk About Racism. It's a program designed for teachers to be able to speak about these issues of anti-racism, microaggressions, intersectionality, and allyship with grace. The inspiration for the program is storytelling and allowing people to have the microphone to tell their own stories. I had the opportunity to sit down with 3 amazing Canadians: Don Richardson-Wilson, an Olympic athlete in the sport of bobsled from Edmonton, Gurdeep Pandar, a dancer and motivational speaker from the Yukon, and Dimitri Nanakote, a drag queen from Montreal, Quebec. My goal is to help teachers speak about all of these things, microaggressions, bias, intersectionality, racism, with grace. Teachers are fearful to talk about these topics. In a curriculum that doesn't reflect these topics at all, It was important to me to find a place for students to learn about these things in order to make conscious choices about how to be anti-racist, an ally to their peers who are racialized or victimized based on gender or preference, and just to be an all-around good person. I look forward to the launch of this project in the coming days. So what work needs to be done? As Edmontonians, we've come a long way in focusing on Black joy, Black excellence, and Black happiness, but we still have a long way to go. Our students need to feel supported in all of their endeavors. If we're talking about supporting our youth, it goes beyond what they're doing in our classrooms. They need to feel as though they have the support of their educators, law enforcement, elected officials, and others in public spheres to put an end to discriminatory acts. Students want to feel like the learning that they do in the classroom reflects them, and not Genghis Khan. They want to see main characters that look like them on bookshelves, in their classrooms and school hallways. They want to learn about Black musicians and Black artists. They want job opportunities in Black-owned businesses and the ability to learn from their elders about their own history, their language, and their traditions. Students and youth can't do that alone. It's up to us in this room and beyond to advocate for the children we interact with and see each and every day, to let them know that we see them, we hear them, and we will support them as best we can. There are many grassroots organizations and Black-owned businesses to support in the city, not just in February, but all year round. Your continued support to the success of racialized entrepreneurs will help the city flourish, and in turn will help our future generation of children be a part of the legacy that Black Canadians hold. When Black stories are manipulated and told for them, Black futures don't stand a chance. Whoever tells the story controls the narrative. I challenge all of you in this room to take a moment to listen to the story of someone who doesn't look like you. You may learn something. This month and every month, let us be courageous and proud of our youth and encourage them to tell their stories and shape our futures. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss A. Really appreciate you sharing your story with us and helping us learn just a little bit more this morning. And in particular, thank you for the way that you literally changed the lives of people. You set their lives on a course of success, and the future of our province, in many respects, is in your hands, and it is in good hands at that. So thank you so much. Next, I would like to welcome for a spoken word piece by Charlie Queen Exo, one of her works, An Ode to Black Excellence. Charlie Queen Exo.
Thank you so much for having me. Truly appreciate this. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've been asked, how in the world are you so excellent? They may not have always used those exact words. Sometimes it's so amazing, so talented. Other times it's just the greatest, but you're picking up what's being said. Excellence. A common trope that elopes from the witness to the flow of what many may define as my Blackness. You see, what they're referring to is Black excellence. What's natural to me often comes natural to us, and what's average to me is for them sometimes something far, far above. And no, we are not in little ponds as big fish. We are big fish, point blank, period. Like the whales of the sea, graceful and resilient, simplistic yet brilliant, a testament to the existence of ancient wisdom carried through the divine intelligence of DNA and genetics. We are born excellent. Our melanin-rich wardrobe that drapes our spirit in human cloth is more precious than silk and dances in the wind like chiffon. Truly, with every turn around the sun, I come to genuinely love and feel what a privilege it is to be me. Dear young Black girl, your tightly woven curls are an indication of your excellent rootedness to the origins of creation herself. For nothing ever God made has ever truly been straight. Black Girl Magic is not just a hashtag, but a reminder that your existence is beyond human comprehension. There is no box to which your magic fits. Your human adornment is not meant to restrict, but to express your essence. The very thought of loving yourself is a rebellion. The very act of caring for yourself is a deviant decision. The original mother whose body birthed kingdoms, creeds, races, and nations, your tears manifested the oceans. Your milk nurtured the soil of the land. Dear young Black woman, just because you make gold with the little that you had been given does not mean that you should take the scraps. Trust me, you're worth more than that. My soon-to-be young Black men, the activation of your excellent liberation is encoded in the knowing of who you are and of what you are. And no, your rite of passage is not automatic from the clothes you wear, the car you drive, the house you live in, or the furniture that's inside. Excellence is not the accumulation of what is expensive. The quality of shoes on your feet is not as important as the quality of thoughts running through your mind. How strong is your faith in knowing that you are a child of the divine? How deeply do you know that your courage can surpass any sort of fear, or that your laughter brings joy to even the darkest of nights? My young Black boy, just the thought of you makes me smile. I want you to know that I am proud of you, especially when you cry. That your strength is not in the denial of your pain. You do not need to be superhuman to be loved just the same. To be human is enough. You, my darling, are more than enough. The realization of your inner kingdom is the key to unlocking your personal freedom. You are excellent. You are incredible. Where everywhere that you walk is holy ground, body like a temple. Have I told you what the resonance of your voice does to the inner workings of my mental? You, Black men, are unforgettable. Your energy lingers on my soul. Your presence reminds me what it is to be human, to be whole. To feel the woes, the triumphs, the sorrows, the heavenly calls for your excellence. Our excellence is not rooted in our Blackness, but in our humanity. We are human as human can be. Now, isn't that an excellent thing? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charlie Queen XO. It's just an incredible reflection for us all. And thank you for your ongoing work and the way that you impact both young men and women of our community. I want to extend my sincere thank you to each and every one of our guests for joining us here today to share your stories. I want to thank everyone who took time out of your busy days to join us here together, whether you're here in person or joining us virtually. I appreciate you showing your support and your love for our Black community. and in particular as we share together for the future of our young Black community and our Black community across the province. There are many activities all over the province taking place to celebrate Black History Month. I would encourage you to participate in them if you can. For those of you who are able, please support a locally owned Black business or find ways to reach out to a community member that you don't know and learn just one thing about their story. Because all too often, we share so much in common, but we reach out to find out what those common things are. And as I mentioned earlier, we often have one common goal, many ways to accomplish that. But I firmly believe that together, those goals of being better, of being together, of reducing barriers and breaking down walls, that together we can accomplish those things, and our province, our country, and our world will be better for it. May God bless you, and may God bless Alberta.